Chapter 1655. Chingu saw that Kaer had already apologized. If he continued to act like that, it would seem like he was being petty. Thus, he immediately retracted the expression on his face. He reached out his hand and tidied his clothes. Then, he respectfully bowed to Kaer. However, can my illness really be cured? The two of them could be considered to have gotten to know each other again. She pursed her lips slightly and looked at Chingu expectantly. Whether or not it can be cured, I have to see it first before I can say, Chingu said in a serious tone. Kaer nodded her head slightly. Just as they dismounted from the camel, a commotion broke out in front of them. Chingu and Kaer were so shocked that they immediately hid under the camel. The two of them were so synchronized that when they both hid, they were immediately stunned when they saw each other. You are a man. How can you hide? Kaer glared at Chingu angrily. As she spoke, she wanted to push Chingu away. Chingu quickly lay down and said, I am a man, but I am only a doctor. I don't know martial arts. If I go out and get injured, how can I treat others? Chingu quickly said. But Kaer furrowed her brows. Although it seemed to be true, Kaer still didn't like the sight of a grown man hiding. That's enough, you two. Jingyu was speechless as she looked at the two who were hiding. She said, We probably met someone from a big power. Let's go ahead and take a look. You don't have to hide. There's so many people, they won't hurt you. Jingyu had just finished speaking when she saw a person running towards her in a panic. Master Xiao, Madam Xiao, third brother said that we met someone from a big power this time. I'm afraid it won't be as easy as the previous times. The three of you asked me to tell you to go ahead. Jingyu recognized the man in front of her. He was Pang Shiwei's subordinate. Molly, someone from a big power? Jingyu frowned and glanced at Xiao Chun. She then turned to Ma Li and asked, Is it a power or... No. Molly swallowed his saliva. It's an alliance of big powers. I think there are 3 or 4 powers. They're all big powers. What? This time, it was Jingyu's turn to be shocked. According to Jingyu's deduction, these people would never gather together. If they were all big powers, they would not submit to each other. But now they were gathered together. Let's go take a look, Jingyu said and was about to walk away. And ninth sister-in-law, then should we come out? Chingu saw that Jingyu was about to leave and silently swallowed his saliva and asked, If you like to hide, then hide. Jingyu glanced at Chingu and said. Then, she followed Xiao Chun and Shengwan Linglan to the front. While they were still in the crowd, they heard a very familiar sentence. I don't like you guys. So what if I hit you? Such a familiar voice and tone, and such a way of addressing himself. Feng Ling, don't you want your tongue anymore? Just as Feng Ling was flaunting her prowess and intimidating these people, she suddenly heard a familiar voice from the crowd. Her eyes instantly lit up in surprise. Chapter 1656. The crowd opened up a path, and Xiao Chun, Jingyu, and the others slowly appeared. Aya, Master Xiao, it's really you. Isn't this Madam Xiao? Feng Ling said enthusiastically. Pretend. Jingyu looked at Feng Ling with disdain, then glanced over. So, they were all familiar faces. Who else could it be other than Feng Maching and Suyu? However, when Jingyu looked at the man in black with a mask, she was shocked. This man really looked like Xiao Chun. Just as Jingyu was thinking this, the man in the mask seemed to be bowing respectfully to Jingyu. Or rather, it was not to Jingyu, but to Xiao Chun, who was beside Jingyu. Jingyu looked sideways at Xiao Chun's calm appearance and blinked in confusion. Xiao Chun seemed to know Jingyu's confusion. His lips moved slightly, and he said something. Instantly, her eyes widened in surprise. So, he was from another sect. Then, that person was the king of hell in disguise. He really looked like him. What are you doing here? Jingyu took a step forward and frowned at Feng Ling, Feng Maching, and the others. Her tone was not pleasant. Originally, Pang Shiwei called Jingyu and the others over because he thought that if a fight broke out, the main force would be in front. However, he did not expect Jingyu's tone to be so unpleasant. His heart skipped a beat, and he looked at the people in front of him with fear. These people were not to be trifled with. If it was only one faction, it would be fine. However, with so many alliances, it would be troublesome. We heard that you were here, so we came to take a look. Feng Maching said casually. Is it fun to be with these people? Do you want to come with us? No need. Jingyu said disdainfully. Go and play with your own things. Don't disturb us. TSK, TSK, TSK. Feng Ling glared at Jingyu unhappily and said, You're really addicted to playing. Say one more word, and I'll tear your mouth apart. Jingyu said fiercely. Feng Ling shrank back and carefully glanced at Jingyu. Then, she looked at Xiao Chun and said, What a fierce woman. Luckily, I married you. Feng Ling. Jingyu instantly went berserk. Ayaya, let's go. Feng Ling didn't wait for Jingyu to flip out and left with her men. Jingyu's mouth twitched fiercely. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly saw a small figure appear. Of course, Jingyu recognized who it was. It was Feng Ling's younger sister, Feng Yu. Madam, where is Xiao Bai? He didn't come? Feng Yu blinked and asked Jingyu. He didn't come. Why? Are you looking for him? Jingyu raised her eyebrows slightly. She was surprised that Feng Ling would bring Feng Yu here. But on second thought, if Feng Yu wanted to come, Feng Ling wouldn't be able to stop her. It's nothing. Feng Yu smiled cutely. Then, she turned around with disappointment and muttered, Damn it. That brat dumped me last time, and he dares to not come this time. Jingyu heard Feng Yu's words, and her lips curled into a faint smile. Since you like this place so much, then stay here. We'll leave first. Feng Maching spread his hands casually. He looked at Jingyu as if he wanted to ask something, but didn't know how to ask. Chapter 1657. He's not here. I didn't see him after entering the desert. Jingyu looked at Feng Maching's hesitant expression and shrugged. Jingyu knew what Feng Maching wanted to ask, and Feng Maching also knew what Jingyu wanted to answer. It was just that the two of them didn't point it out. Feng Maching heard Jingyu's words and frowned. He took a deep breath and fell silent. He doesn't seem to have brought many people with him. I think you should go and look for him. Jingyu was silent for a moment before she spoke again. After all, his identity is there. I will. Feng Maching probably didn't want to go at first, but Jingyu's words gave Jingyu an excuse to go. He pursed his lips slightly and agreed. Feng Maching and Feng Ling left. Ling Yong stood beside Suyu. Compared to the last time they met, Suyu had regained her high and mighty appearance. After staring at Xing Yi for a long time, she turned around and left silently. Finally, the people from the Nether sect nodded slightly at Xiao Chun and Jingyu again. They lowered their eyes and left as well. When these people came, they were aggressive and looked like they were going to attack these people. However, after Jingyu said a few words, they left without a word. Immediately, everyone looked at Jingyu and Xiao Chun with strange gazes. Based on the meaning of these people's words, it was obvious that they were very familiar with Jingyu's group. Since they were so familiar with Jingyu's group, why did they still want to follow their group? If they followed these forces, they could do whatever they wanted. Pang Shiwei was even more confused. Jingyu's group said that they didn't want the treasure. Since they didn't want the treasure and didn't need protection, then what did Jingyu's group want? Pang Shiwei pondered for a moment. There was only one reason, the rescue that Jingyu had mentioned. The purpose of Jingyu and the others was probably just to go in and save the people safely. They also said that they wanted them to help save the people. It seemed that saving the people was really a troublesome thing. Otherwise, with the power of those big shots, they could have done it. However, he still needed them now. In other words, this rescue mission was very difficult, and he still needed their help. Now that he thought about it, he understood. Since Pang Shiwei was indebted to him and had agreed to help him at the very beginning, he would definitely not stand by and watch. But now that he thought about it, Jingyu's claim that she could protect them from entering the treasure trove was indeed credible. After all, there were quite a few big powers opening the way for them. After today's incident, the status of Jingyu and Xiao Chun had changed in the hearts of these people. No wonder Pang Shiwei treated Jingyu and Xiao Chun differently. So this was the reason. You guys are still hiding. Jingyu returned to her camel and was speechless when she saw the two of them still hiding and staring at each other. You chased them away? Qinggu asked excitedly when he saw Jingyu return. No. Jingyu stepped on the shelf and sat on the camel's back. She said, "It was Foam Maching and the others. I chased them away." Sigh. Chingu immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He crawled out on all fours and said, "So it was them. They scared me." Chapter 1658. Foam Maching. Isn't he the tower master of Sunluo Tower? Kuer also stood up. When she heard the conversation between Chingu and Jingyu, her heart trembled slightly. She said with some fear, "I heard that Sunluo Tower is an assassin organization that kills without blinking." Yes. Chingu nodded seriously and said, "These assassin organizations are all like this. Have you seen them before?" I haven't." Kuer shrank back in fear. "Don't be afraid. They're good people." Chingu looked at Kuer's frightened expression and said seriously, "Let me tell you about this Foam Maching." In order to not frighten Kuer, Chingu talked endlessly about Foam Maching's embarrassing matters. When he talked about the first time he saw Foam Maching, he was so disgusted that he almost vomited. Now that he thought about it, he just found it interesting. Jingyu listened to Qing Ji's words, and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. Time really passed too quickly. In the blink of an eye, the first time she met Foam Maching had become a memory. Jingyu smiled slightly. Through a layer of gauze, she looked at the scorching sun in the distance. Once again, she felt dizzy. When would she be able to see the oasis? Didn't they say that they would see Sand City not long after seeing the oasis? Now, they couldn't even see the shadow of the oasis. What Sand City? Everyone's water supply was running out. If they continued walking like this, it would be fatal. White Nine, did you see the oasis last time? Jingyu was silent for a moment and turned to ask White Nine. No. White Nine slowly shook his head and said, "I didn't see the oasis. I was just a little further ahead when I was attacked by the wolf pack." When White Nine's words fell, Jingyu suddenly stood up and looked at White Nine with some fear and said, "What did you just say? You met the wolf pack a little further ahead. You mean we are about to reach the place where the wolf pack gathers?" "Yes." White Nine slowly nodded and said, "This is what I was about to remind you. It's broken." Jingyu frowned slightly. Then, as if she had thought of something, she hurriedly said to Xing, "Xing, stop the team and call Pang Shiwei over." "Yes." Xing obeyed. After a while, the group stopped. Pang Shiwei strode towards Jingyu. "Madam Xiao, why did you suddenly stop?" Pang Shiwei cupped his hands towards Xiao Chun and Jingyu before asking, "Are you feeling unwell? Or is there something else?" Pang Shiwei asked with a frown. "Neither. You can't leave today." Jingyu frowned at Pang Shiwei and said, "If we continue forward, we will reach the place where the wolves gather. We can't rush in recklessly. If we do, we will be in big trouble." Wolves. When Pang Shiwei heard Jingyu's words, his eyes widened in shock. He looked at Jingyu and asked in surprise, "Are you sure? Haven't you always wanted to ask how we caught up so much faster than you?" Jingyu raised her hand and pointed at Bai Jiuji. He went deep into the desert dozens of times. A few months ago, he was surrounded by a pack of wolves and ran away with half his life. Chapter 1659. Pang Shiwei sucked in a breath of cold air after hearing Jingyu's words. His eyes were filled with astonishment. "That's why we can't go any further. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous to spend the night inside." Jingyu frowned and said, "We must be fully prepared." Pang Shiwei nodded solemnly after hearing Jingyu's words. He turned around and relayed Jingyu's words to the others. Everyone, who originally felt something, suddenly panicked. They seemed to be wondering what they should do. At the same time, they sighed in their hearts. Jingyu is really amazing. If it weren't for Jingyu and the others, they would be courting death. What should we do now? Pang Shiwei, He Xiong, Leopard, and the others gathered around Jingyu and asked with a frown. Wolves are afraid of fire. Jingyu said slowly, "First, each of us must have at least 2 fire sticks, a bayonet, or a long knife. Everyone must also have a fire seed on them. Next, we need tree oil, the kind that can ignite the torch instantly." Jingyu said slowly, "White Nine, where are the trees in this area?" "There's a place." White Nine thought for a moment and said, "It's not far from here, but what?" Jingyu frowned and asked, "But that place is occupied by some lizards. Some of these lizards are poisonous. I was bitten by one of those lizards last time. If we want to get the tree oil, we may have to fight. Okay, lead the way." Jingyu thought for a moment and nodded firmly. Then, she looked at Qingge and asked, "Is that poison highly toxic? Can it be cured?" "Don't worry, it's not a highly toxic poison. It will only numb your body temporarily. It will be cured soon," Qingge said casually. Jingyu nodded her head in satisfaction and smiled faintly. "The most important thing now is to prepare these things. Remember, no one can be left out," Jingyu said solemnly. "Understood." Pang Shiwei and the others nodded firmly. Then they went to call the others. They couldn't move forward today, but they also couldn't go to the lizard's place. It was said that lizards like to stay under the scorching sun and hide at night. Therefore, if he wanted to get the resin, he would have to wait until nighttime. Jingyu naturally planned to follow the group. If they encountered any big guys, her special pupils would come in handy. After giving out the orders, everyone went to look for a suitable piece of wood. They also checked if they had any useless rags to wrap around the wood. Jingyu and the others were very relaxed while they were doing these things. "What are you thinking about?" Xiao Chun handed the water bottle in his hand to Jingyu for a long time, but Jingyu didn't take it. When Xiao Chun called her, Jingyu took the water bottle. However, she only played with the water bottle in her hand. Xiao Chun looked at Jingyu and frowned. Jingyu suddenly heard Xiao Chun's question. Her expression was a little absent-minded. She smiled faintly and said, "Nothing, I just suddenly felt a little uneasy." Chapter 1660. What's wrong? Xiao Chun pursed his lips and asked, "Are you worried about the Sonic Attack family?" "Yes." Jingyu nodded slowly and said, "Back then, White Nine was attacked by the wolf pack. I have a feeling that the Sonic Attack family must have found out about White Nine's entry, so they manipulated the wolf pack to attack. Now that we're here, do you think the Sonic Attack family knows about our arrival?" Jingyu looked up at Xiao Chun and asked, "That's possible." Xiao Chun nodded slowly and said, "But you forgot one thing." Jingyu was stunned when she heard Xiao Chun's words. She looked up at Xiao Chun and asked, "What? So many people have entered this time, and were mixed in with a messy group. Do you think the Sonic Attack family has the ability to detect our arrival?" Xiao Chun's words were very calm. Jingyu's eyes widened when she heard Xiao Chun's words. "That's right. So many people have entered this time. How can the Sonic Attack family find us?" Jingyu's eyes widened in surprise when she thought of this. She said happily, "If that's the case, we haven't been exposed yet." "Yes." Xiao Chun nodded slowly and said, "But there's one bad thing. You can't use your abnormal pupil when we encounter the wolf pack. Otherwise, we'll be exposed." "I understand." Jingyu nodded seriously and said, "Even if I don't use my abnormal pupil, those wolves won't be our match." Jingyu's eyes were full of smiles. She said arrogantly, "No one knows the wolf pack better than me. As long as we kill the alpha wolf and attack it with fire, we'll definitely be able to drive the wolves away. Sound attacks are also divided into strong and weak. In the situation where they haven't discovered us, the people dispatched by the sound attack aristocratic family must not be very powerful. Our chances of winning are very high." After Jingyu understood, she suddenly became excited. "Yes, so you don't have to worry so much." Xiao Chun adjusted Jingyu's veil and said calmly. "Phew." Jingyu looked at Xiao Chun with a smile and said, "You're so smart." Xiao Chun was silent for a moment. Then he leaned over and kissed Jingyu lightly on the cheek. Even though there was a thin veil between them, Jingyu blushed. She secretly looked around and saw that no one had noticed them. "Shall we go see those little lizards tonight?" Jingyu blinked and asked Xiao Chun, "I thought you weren't going to tell me." Xiao Chun seemed to be very bitter. Jingyu looked at Xiao Chun's expression and smiled. She hugged Xiao Chun's arm and shook it. When night fell, Jingyu woke up from her sleep. Smelling the cool night breeze, she sighed contentedly and said with a smile, "The most beautiful thing in the desert at night is the full moon. Don't tell me you wanted to pick it for you." Xiao Chun followed Jingyu's gaze and saw a snow-white full moon. After a moment of silence, he spoke. Jingyu was stunned by Xiao Chun's words. She was so angry that her face turned red. She stared at Xiao Chan and asked, "Do I look like such an idiot?" Chapter 1661. Chingu touched the tip of his nose. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but how could he dare to say it now? If Ninth's sister-in-law found out that he had said too much, she would definitely skin him alive. Thinking of this, Chingu suddenly shuddered and silently continued to boil the medicine. Jingyu said that they would definitely be injured when they came back, so she asked Chingu to boil the antidote first so that everyone could drink it when they came back. Since Jingyu had spoken, Chingu naturally boiled it here slowly. Jingyu and the others followed White Nine and walked forward step by step. The feeling of walking at night was really good, but when they stepped on the sand, they always felt a sense of panic. They kept looking at the sand, afraid that they would step on empty air. When the sand softened, they would fall down. Obviously, this was Jingyu's imagination. How could such a thing happen? Jingyu and the others walked forward while talking and laughing. From time to time, they would ask White Nine how long it would take to reach the place. Finally, when Jingyu asked for the third time, White Nine stretched out his hand and pointed not far away and said, "Do you see that? That is a place with stones and trees. Those stone walls are where those small lizards hide. There is resin on those trees." White Nine panted slightly and said, "You have to be careful. These little guys will drill into your sleeves or pants, so everyone should tighten your sleeves." White Nine said to everyone as he reached out to tie up his sleeves and said slowly, "So scary?" When everyone heard White Nine say drill into the trees, they suddenly felt a chill down their spines. They quickly tied their sleeves and looked at the trees, suddenly having a feeling that they didn't want to walk over. "This little thing's bite is a little painful," White Nine said again. After hearing White Nine's words, everyone looked at each other and the corners of their mouths twitched. "Let's go." Jingyu felt her hair stand on end. She took a deep breath and walked towards the tree. Under the pitch-black night sky, Jingyu's eyes, which were hidden behind the veil, slowly revealed a glimmer of light. Jingyu looked at the little thing hiding in the stone wall. It seemed to be restless because it was disturbed. She carefully stepped on the stone wall and placed the resin into the sack that she had prepared beforehand. In the beginning, everything went smoothly. However, when Jingyu and the others climbed onto the rocks, the quiet little creatures suddenly went crazy and started to climb onto the clothes of Jingyu and the others. "Ah, a man was successfully bitten," he immediately exclaimed and threw the lizard away. He cursed fiercely, then turned and walked to the other side. These things are too difficult to deal with. While everyone was working on the resin, they were also trying their best to get rid of the lizards that were clinging to them. "Hurry, hurry, hurry!" Jingyu called out to everyone as she got them to hurry up. "Hurry up! Those things are all coming out." White Nine's voice was full of seriousness. When White Nine shouted, everyone hurriedly sped up their actions. Jingyu panted slightly and looked at the little things that came out of the stone wall. Chapter 1662. It was like a never-ending tide. Everyone held their breaths. "Let's go!" Jingyu shouted. Everyone grabbed their bags and rushed out. Jingyu was the last to rush out. Her golden-green eyes suddenly flickered, and the small lizard that was rushing out suddenly circled in place. After everyone ran out, the small lizard that was circling around rushed towards Jingyu and the rest. But now that Jingyu and the rest had escaped, how could they be caught? The plundering operation came to an end. After running for a distance, everyone took off their clothes in an instant and shook out a few small lizards. They touched their bodies and felt a lingering fear. If all of those lizards crawled up and bit you, your nerves would be paralyzed in an instant. Fortunately, they escaped, and no one saw Jingyu's subtle movements. "This thing is really scary," Pang Shiwei said in a panic. "Many ants can bite an elephant to death." "That's true. Let's go," Jingyu said. She turned her head slightly and looked behind her. She took a deep breath and followed the rest. The harvest this time was very bountiful. When they came back, they collected all the things. The clothes and cloth that they didn't need were wrapped around the tree trunk. Then they were placed in the resin and put to one side to dry. Everyone was exhausted after a night of torment. Finally, in the second half of the night, They finished everything and rested in peace. The next morning, when they went to look at the resin, they could clearly see that the resin had solidified. Everyone immediately laughed and talked about how scary the lizards were last night. "Isn't it scary?" Chingu said in agreement. "When you came back, you drank 2 big pots of medicinal juice. I also boiled another pot at the last minute. 3 pots. You didn't leave a single drop." Chingu looked at everyone and said exaggeratedly, "Do you know that you could solve this problem with 1 bowl each? You really wasted my medicinal herbs by drinking so much." Ha ha ha. When everyone heard Qingji's words, they all laughed out loud. "Look at your pitiful face." Jingyu stared at Qinggu in disdain and said, "I saw it yesterday. There are a lot of medicinal herbs in the area where the resin is. I heard that this lizard can also be used as medicine. Why don't you go and catch a few?" I don't care," Qinggu said disdainfully. "Yesterday, those people were bitten so fiercely that they were still applying medicine to their wounds." Qinggu saw the frightening wounds on their bodies and heard them say that the lizard had drilled into their clothes. In an instant, all the hairs on his body stood up. How could he be in the mood to pick medicinal herbs? "Enough." Jingyu glared at Qinggu. Then she turned to Pang Shiwei and the others and said, "Right now, we need to prepare some things for Bayonet. Everyone, prepare everything you need. We're setting off." "All right." Pang Shiwei responded and stood up to shout. As for Jingyu's camel, after much thought, she decided to leave it here. If she rode in, it would definitely be sent to the wolves. It was rare for it to carry her all the way, so she decided to let it play by itself. Chapter 1663. After Jingyu and the rest released the camel, they followed the others and walked forward. Everyone was on high alert and focused on the situation around them. Everything seemed very quiet, but it was this kind of silence that made people feel incomparably flustered. Everyone was vigilant of their surroundings, but when they suddenly climbed over a small hill, they stood on the hill and saw with their own eyes a scene that made them suck in a breath of cold air. Suddenly, they felt a chill run down their spine. It seems like someone has experienced the feeling of being attacked by a pack of wolves before us. Jingyu's calm voice sounded. Everyone felt their hearts beating fiercely at this moment. At the bottom of the hill where Jingyu and the rest were standing, there was a field of corpses and blood. There were human corpses and wolf corpses. There were even 2 or 3 wolves that were tearing the human corpses apart, as if they were tasting something delicious. Jingyu's heart trembled violently. She didn't even have the thought of going down to take a look to see who attacked them. She decisively turned around and walked away. "Let's go, we'll take a detour." Jingyu turned around and walked away. Everyone else also turned around and walked away. The few wolves seemed to have sensed something and looked up, but when they saw Jingyu and the rest disappearing, they continued to eat. Bai Jiu led Jingyu and the rest around this bloody place and took another path. They walked forward step by step. They definitely couldn't walk out of this area where the wolves gathered during the day, so they had to spend the night here. This was probably the first time that everyone thought that it would be great if the sun didn't set. But obviously, this was impossible. As the night deepened, Jingyu looked at the sky that was gradually darkening. Her heart was filled with uneasiness. When the afterglow of the setting sun finally disappeared, Jingyu's eyes were filled with deep worry. Everyone's expression also became a little nervous. "Let's find a good place to rest." Jingyu looked at Pang Shiwei slightly and said, "Okay." Pang Shiwei nodded and ordered everyone to look for a good place. At the same time, he also ordered people to look for a good place to defend against the attack of the wolves. After that, he ordered people to look for wood and other things outside. Only then did he slowly let out a sigh of relief. Everyone sat together and quietly waited for the sky to darken inch by inch. Everyone lit up the bonfire and tightly gripped the bayonets in their hands. They looked around the desert with vigilance. Just as everyone was on high alert, a loud wolf howl was heard. Everyone looked up and seemed to see Lone Wolf's figure on the rock from afar. Under the illumination of the full moon, it was so majestic that it was terrifying. Jingyu slowly stood up, as if she was carefully listening to the wolf's howl. Perhaps it was really because of the scene that they saw during the day. When night came, everyone's spirit was tense. They opened their eyes wide and looked into the night, not daring to relax at all. You don't have to be so nervous. Jingyu looked at everyone's expressions and casually said, "Don't worry, it's fine even if the wolves come. As long as we can kill the alpha wolf, the wolves will naturally flee." Alpha wolf? Everyone heard Jingyu's words and sat up slightly. Chapter 1664. Wolves are pack animals. Since they live in a pack, they naturally have a leader. If we go to the battlefield to kill the enemy, isn't there a saying that goes, "Capture the leader first"? Jingyu's words seemed to have a rare magical power, calming down everyone's anxious hearts. From Madam's tone, "It seems like you are very familiar with this pack of wolves." Pang Shui looked at Jingyu and asked in confusion, "Of course." Jingyu smiled faintly and said, "I have been with wolves since I was young. No one is more familiar with them than me." Jingyu's words made everyone's eyes widen, as if they were very curious about Jingyu. During this period of time, it was not difficult to see that Jingyu and Xiao Chun did not seem to be people of the martial arts world. Judging from their words and actions, they seemed to be noble people. However, now that Jingyu said that she had been with wolves since childhood, everyone was shocked. When Jingyu said this, she suddenly thought of something and frowned slightly. It had been a long time since she returned to the Roman forest. She didn't know how Yin Jian and Yin Feng were doing. They had always been together in the past. Jingyu also thought that there would be a day when they would have to separate. Now that there were so many things to do, it was obvious that she couldn't bring Yin Jian and Yin Feng along. Now that she hadn't seen them for so long, she really missed them. Jingyu sighed deeply. Just when everyone was about to say something, they suddenly seemed to hear something in the wind. They immediately tensed up, and their eyes were filled with seriousness. Everyone stood up one after another. "There's movement," Pang Shui said in a serious tone. When everyone heard this, they tightened their grip on the bayonets in their hands. Looking into the dark night, they didn't even dare to blink. All they could hear was the sound of their own heartbeats. They swallowed their saliva slightly and didn't dare to utter a single word. Everyone held their breaths and looked at the dark night. When they saw a figure suddenly step out of the dark night, everyone's expression suddenly became a little strange, and they frowned fiercely. "So it's you guys." Feng Ling was in a sorry state. When she saw Pang Shui and the others glaring at her, she instantly heaved a huge sigh of relief. "I've finally found you." Behind Feng Ling, Feng Maching, Su Yu, and the others were also covered in mud and blood. When they saw Jingyu, they immediately sat down as if they had seen their savior. "Young master, my legs have turned to jelly." Feng Ling didn't care about her image at all. She just sat on the ground like that. The people behind her also sat on the ground in exhaustion. Pang Shui and the others looked at each other. They had no idea what was going on. "Why are you here?" When Jingyu saw Feng Ling and the rest in such a sorry state, she was also a little puzzled. Only then did she ask, "What else can it be? Of course I was chased by a wolf." When Feng Ling heard Jingyu's words, she almost jumped up. She gritted her teeth and said, "You don't know how fierce that hungry wolf is. You guys encountered a pack of wolves?" "When?" Jingyu's eyes widened slightly as she asked. "Last night." Feng Ling lowered her head helplessly and said, "We never thought that there would be such fierce desert wolves in this desert. If we didn't run fast enough, you would have to come and collect our corpses." Chapter 1665. Jingyu furrowed her brows in silence. She looked at Feng Ling as if she was an idiot and said, "Don't tell me that when you entered the desert, you didn't ask around to find out what was hidden in the desert. Isn't it normal to have desert wolves?" Jingyu said calmly, "I know there are, but we've been walking for so long and haven't seen a single wolf. I thought we had gone around it. Who knew that there would be so many of them in this place? If we hadn't reacted quickly enough, we wouldn't have been able to see you today." Feng Ling spoke as if she had been wronged. Jingyu shook off Feng Ling's hand in disdain and said, "All right, stop making a fool of yourself. Look at you guys. You actually managed to escape the siege of a pack of wolves. You're amazing." "Jingyu, are you really mocking us?" Feng Ling looked at Jingyu with resentment. Young Master Pang, give them some of our extra torches. Jingyu stood up and turned to Pang Shiwei and said, there's strength in numbers. If we really encounter desert wolves, we can fight them together. Okay. Pang Shiwei naturally did not hesitate. These people were able to escape from the wolves without torches. Jingyu's words were naturally correct. If they could work together, it would be a great help. After Feng Ling and the others had rested, Jingyu took out some food for them. When Feng Ling and the others had recovered their strength, she asked, where did you encounter the pack of wolves? Is it just an ordinary wolf pack, or... Jingyu did not finish her sentence clearly, but Feng Ling, Su Yu, and the others all understood what Jingyu meant. Suddenly, everyone's faces became serious. No, it wasn't an ordinary pack of wolves. That's why we stayed here and wanted to find you. Feng Maching's expression also turned ugly. He quietly looked at Jingyu and said, when the pack of wolves attacked, the situation was still very chaotic. However, the music coming from afar can't escape our ears. It's obvious that someone is controlling the wolf pack. If I'm not wrong, it should be the person from the Sound Attack aristocratic family that you're looking for. Feng Maching's words were filled with seriousness. As expected, after hearing Feng Maching's words, the expression on Jingyu's face suddenly changed. She clenched her fists and said, these people from the Sound Attack aristocratic family are really hiding here. These wolves are being manipulated. If that's the case, it's not good for us. Jingyu frowned and said, I can't expose my abnormal pupils. If those Sound Attack family members notice my arrival, I'm afraid we won't be able to get close to Sand City, and we will be killed. Jingyu, just tell us the truth. Feng Ling looked at Jingyu with a conflicted expression and said, the news about the treasure is definitely something you said to fool us, right? Take a guess. Jingyu calmly raised her eyebrows and looked at Feng Ling provocatively. This young master is being used as a tool again. Feng Ling looked at Jingyu's expression and was instantly furious. But now that they had already come to this point, how could they back off? There was no other way but to advance. Feng Ling thought of this and sighed deeply. Chapter 1666. Tell me, how did I provoke the two of you? Feng Ling glared at Jingyu and Xiao Chun as she spoke. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and looked at Jingyu fearfully, saying, wait a minute. What? Jingyu turned to look at Feng Ling and asked in confusion, what did you just say? Feng Ling seemed to have thought of something terrifying. She swallowed her saliva and looked at Jingyu, saying, you said you can't expose your abnormal pupils. What do you mean? Do you want us to face the wolf pack alone? In other words, you can't control the wolf pack to retreat? Feng Ling stared closely at Jingyu as she asked. Of course, Jingyu said calmly as she nodded. Oh my God. Feng Ling immediately fell back and said loudly, the heavens want me dead. Big brother, can't you be more mature? Feng Yu kicked her short legs in disdain as she said in disdain. Huh? Jingyu looked at Feng Ling and Feng Yu and instantly laughed. She said calmly, it's just a wolf pack. If they really push me too far, so what if I kill those people playing the flute? Jingyu's words were full of disdain. When Feng Ling heard Jingyu's words, she immediately sat up and looked at Jingyu seriously, saying, don't be rash. Right now, the people from the Sound Attack aristocratic family have only summoned a pack of wolves. If you expose yourself and anger the people from the Sound Attack aristocratic family, I think they will summon all the living creatures in this desert. Then when Jingyu heard Feng Ling's words, she instantly laughed and said happily, why didn't I see it before? You still have some brains. Hey, how can you say that? When Feng Ling heard Jingyu's words, she was instantly enraged. That angry look on her baby face was really adorable. All right, Su Yu looked at the rowdy people and rubbed her forehead with a headache. She said, let's quickly rest for the first half of the night. Who knows if the wolves will come for the second half of the night? This area is very big. We'll have to walk for a few days before we can get out. That's right. We didn't rest well last night. We have to sleep well today, Feng Ling said and pulled Feng Yu to sleep. Feng Yu pushed her brother away in disdain, but Feng Ling didn't care. She hugged Feng Yu again and went to sleep contentedly. In this desert, Everyone was resting. What they didn't know was that in the dark night, two pairs of eyes were quietly watching this group of people. The corners of their mouths slowly curled up. The cold look in their eyes was so frightening that it made people's hair stand on end. "Second brother, are we going?" A childish voice sounded, and the two people hiding behind the rock stood up. Both of them were not tall, and they looked to be about 15 years old. The girl was around 12 years old. Both of them had a jade flute on their waists. At this moment, they were hiding behind the rock and quietly watching Jingyu's group. "No need," the man said faintly. "Let them live for one more day." "Oh," the little girl asked in confusion. "Why?" Second aunt said that she wanted to scare these people away. Chapter 1667. "Good girl, just listen to me." The man patted the little girl's head and said, "When they go deeper, we'll be able to summon even more wolves. We'll bury all of them here." "Ah," the little girl said in shock, but second aunt said that it would be fine as long as we chase them away. "Those who invade my sound attack family deserve to die. Moreover, these people actually want to enter Sand City. They must be coveting the wealth of my sound attack family. If we let these people go, there will definitely be more people coming to the desert." The man's eyes were filled with viciousness as he spoke. "Little sister Zhu, you are still young. When you grow up, you will know how evil the people of the outside world are." The man said as he held the little girl's hand and said, "Let's go. We will let these people live for one more day." "Oh," the little girl nodded as if she understood and quietly left with the man. Second brother must be right. After all, second brother was the most powerful person in the younger generation with sound attacks. It was already a great honor to be able to come out with second brother this time. As the little girl thought of this, her eyes were filled with smiles. She arched her eyebrows and looked up. Under the moonlight, his young face was already so handsome. If he grew up, he would definitely be extraordinarily handsome. The little girl's eyes were filled with amazement. She wanted to grow up quickly. When she grew up, she would become very, very beautiful. She also wanted to learn this sound attack technique well, so that she could marry second brother in the future. When the little girl thought about this, her face turned red. It seemed that her hand was burning. It felt so good to be held by second brother like this. "Zhu, why is your hand so hot?" Just as the little girl's thoughts were running wild, the man suddenly stopped and asked, "Do you feel uncomfortable?" "No." When the little girl heard the man's words, she suddenly felt as if her hand had thorns. She quickly pulled her hand back and walked a few steps before saying, "Let's go quickly." "Okay." The man seemed to be slightly puzzled, but he didn't think too much about it. After nodding at the little girl, he leisurely walked on the desert. Their footsteps on the desert were so casual. Facing the moonlight, they looked so cold, as if they were born to be in this desert. The little girl's voice resounded in the empty desert, causing the man's eyebrows to be tinged with a faint smile. It was so captivating. Jingyu knew nothing about what happened in the desert that night. She only knew that Jingyu slept very comfortably and didn't wait for the sun to rise. They didn't encounter any attacks from the wolves, which was really fortunate. How comfortable! Feng Ling looked at the rising sun. This was the first time she felt that the sun was so warm. She happily turned to look at Jingyu and said, "There really weren't any wolves last night, right? Did you do something? You think too much." Jingyu looked at Feng Ling from the corner of her eyes and said, "If a pack of wolves really comes, I'll let them bite you to death first." Chapter 1668. TSK. A woman's heart is the most vicious. Feng Ling looked at Jingyu with disdain and said, "This young master risked his life to inform you, and you actually want the desert wolf to bite me to death? Really? Vicious?" Feng Ling glared at Jingyu and said, "Madam, I agree." Feng Yu raised her hand and said seriously, "Remember, you must let the desert wolf bite your mouth first. Brother Ling's mouth is getting more and more disgusting." "Great. Feng Yu, you're actually siding with an outsider." Feng Ling was so angry that she wanted to grab Feng Yu and hit her. Feng Yu nimbly squeezed into the crowd. It was so lively early in the morning. and Jingyu's eyes were also tinged with a faint smile. Foam watching. When Jingyu turned her head, she saw Foam watching staring at the sand in the distance in a daze. She was slightly stunned, and then seemed to have thought of something. She frowned slightly and called out to Foam watching. Foam watching responded very calmly. No one could see any abnormality on his face. Needless to say, Foam watching, who was like that back then, suddenly became like this. It really surprised Jingyu. She even felt a little unaccustomed. Did you find him? Jingyu asked slowly. No. Foam watching lowered his eyes slightly and said, maybe he didn't enter the depths of the desert. And Jingyu heard Foam watching's words and frowned in confusion. She asked curiously, how do you know? Based on his personality, coming to the desert is just for show. Even if he came in, you wouldn't get anything. Moreover, it's such an empty thing. He must be in the periphery. Foam watching said very calmly. I really didn't expect you to know him so well. Jingyu seemed to have thought of something and asked tentatively, you're like this because of him? Foam watching's face stiffened slightly, and he didn't speak. Say, what kind of riddles are these two playing? Why is it always him? Suyu curiously poked the masked king of hell and asked. However, after asking for a long time, Suyu's face suddenly stiffened. She looked up at the iron mask and speechlessly held her forehead. She was really out of her mind to ask this mute such a question. Let's go. Hearing Qing Ji's shout, Jingyu and the rest quickly packed up their things and continued walking towards the depths of the forest. Jingyu and Xiao Chun walked in front under the scorching sun. If we can make it through tonight, we should be able to get out of this area before dark tomorrow. Baizhou said slowly beside Jingyu. As he spoke, he looked around. The desert was exceptionally quiet, but it was also exceptionally unsettling. Jingyu turned to White Nine and asked, but if we encounter an attack tonight, I'm afraid it will be the fiercest one, right? Baizhou nodded silently. Xiao Chen slightly tightened his grip on Jingyu's hand, as if telling Jingyu not to worry. Jingyu felt Xiao Chen's concern, and a faint smile appeared on her face. She looked up at Xiao Chen and said, don't worry, nothing will happen. Chapter 1669. If it weren't for the fact that I don't know why Yi Shui was captured by the aristocratic family of musical attacks, I would have led my army to flatten this desert a long time ago. Jingyu smirked arrogantly. I hope they didn't do anything to Yi Shui. Ninth Imperial Concubine, thank you very much. Baizhou heard Jingyu's words and thanked her deeply. Yi Shui provoked the aristocratic family of musical attacks because of me. Besides, I'll make sure they pay me back double for what they did to me in the past. Didn't they say that the aristocratic family of musical attacks had disappeared? I didn't expect them to still be here. Since they want to disappear so badly, I might as well fulfill their wish. Jingyu said it so casually, but Feng Ling, Su Yu, and the others all pulled the corners of their mouths. How arrogant. However, Jingyu was probably the only one who had the right to be so arrogant. First, she erased Nin Li's name from history. Then, she destroyed the Holy Family. Then, she forced the Cebu to submit to her. Finally, she forced the Poison Sect to disband. And now, she set her sights on the aristocratic family of musical attacks again. Jingyu's means simply made them tremble with fear just thinking about it. Originally, when they talked about this matter, they didn't feel anything, but after connecting these matters one by one, they suddenly felt that their legs were soft. They wondered what kind of situation the aristocratic family of musical attacks would face this time. Thinking of this, there was only one thought in everyone's mind. That was, they sincerely hoped that these people from the Sound Attack aristocratic family would not be too harsh on Jingyu. Otherwise, they would definitely die miserably. Jingyu had never been lenient. It's so hot. Jingyu could practically feel her clothes sticking to her back. She lowered her head helplessly and sighed deeply. Do you want to take a break? Xiao Chen asked with a slight frown when he saw Jingyu's state. No need, Jingyu said against the blazing sun. Let's go quickly. Only now did Jingyu realize how fortunate it was to be able to ride a camel. What made Jingyu very surprised was that under such difficult conditions, Feng Yu seemed to be completely fine. She was still fooling around and didn't seem delicate at all. This desert is nothing, Jingyu asked curiously. Suddenly, the little girl raised her head and said, "Back then, my master threw me into the desert and gave me nothing but a knife. I'm still alive and well." Jingyu swallowed her saliva and asked, "Is your master that cruel?" "Of course not. My master treats me this way because he thinks I'm good." "What do you know?" Fengyu said disdainfully. Jingyu immediately shut her mouth. Just as she was about to ask a few more questions, she suddenly saw that the group had stopped. "What's going on in front?" Jingyu asked curiously. Just as Jingyu finished speaking, someone called out to Qingge. Jingyu frowned slightly and walked forward with Xiao Chun and the others. In front of Jingyu, Jingyu saw a person lying motionless on the sand. It was a familiar face. Jingyu had seen him before. He seemed to be someone Pang Shiwei knew. Was his name Zhuji? Chapter 1670. It seems like he was injured by a wolf. Pang Shiwei frowned and said, "I don't know how long he ran before he fainted here. Lord Qingge, how are his injuries?" "It's nothing serious. He just fainted and suffered some superficial wounds." Qingge quickly took out something and fed it into his mouth. Then he asked for some water and fed it to him. "Isn't this person your enemy? Why did you save him?" Jingyu looked at Pang Shiwei's actions and asked in confusion. When Pang Shiwei was in trouble, Jingyu remembered that Zhuji wanted their lives. "It's not a life and death enemy." Pang Shiwei laughed and shook his head, saying, "It's just that our forces are different and we're used to friction. We don't like each other. When he was defeated by me, he felt embarrassed and even attacked me. Even so, why did you save him?" Jingyu suddenly understood why so many people were willing to give Pang Shiwei face. It was rare for a man to be so magnanimous. However, no matter how Jingyu looked at it, Zhuji didn't seem like someone who would give face. "There's another reason." Pang Shiwei pursed his lips and said, "Back then, his father and my father were sworn brothers. Our family owes him a life." When Jingyu heard Pang Shiwei's words, her eyes widened as if she thought of something. She frowned slightly and didn't say anything. This was a complicated relationship. Seeing Pang Shiwei like this, it seemed like he didn't want to talk about it. Under Qing Ji's treatment, Zhuji's complexion finally improved. Qingge skillfully removed the silver needle. Zhuji coughed slightly and slowly opened his eyes. After looking around, he saw Pang Shiwei and the others and closed his eyes again. "He's fine. He just fell asleep." Qingge stood up and said casually, "Third brother, what about this person?" Pang Shiwei frowned slightly and asked, "Let's go." Pang Shiwei also frowned and said, "I can't just leave him here after saving him. If that's the case, why would I save him?" "Yes." Molly responded and called for the others to take turns carrying Zhuji forward. When the sky gradually darkened, Zhuji finally woke up. Since they could not get out today, they decided to stop and let Zhuji have a good rest. "How do you feel?" Pang Shiwei walked up and handed the kettle to Zhuji. Zhuji was silent for a moment. He looked up at Pang Shiwei and asked, "Why did you save me?" "I saw him, so I saved him." Pang Shiwei placed the kettle beside Zhuji and asked, "Why are you here alone? Where's your team?" "He ran away." Zhuji curled his lips in disdain and said, "When we encountered a pack of wolves, those people told us to stay and block them. Then they all ran away. Those things want to leave me alone to feed the wolves. Do you think I'm so easy to deceive? Since they thought so, I abandoned them all and ran away." Zhuji said casually, but Jingyu, who was standing at the side, felt a strong sense of resentment from Zhuji. Pang Shiwei had already guessed it, but he didn't expect it to be like this. Chapter 1671. "Let me ask you." Jingyu stepped forward, looked at Zhuji, and asked, "When you were attacked by the wolves, did you hear anything else?" Zhuji suddenly heard Jingyu's question and immediately laughed. "I didn't want to talk about this because I felt that you wouldn't believe me even if I said it, but you asked yourself. You must know something, right?" Zhuji's pair of dark eyes stared at Jingyu as he asked. "I know a lot, It just depends on whether what you say is what I want to hear. Jingyu wasn't affected at all and said calmly, "Someone is manipulating the wolves." Zhuji stared at Jingyu as if he wanted to see through Jingyu's veil, but it didn't happen. Jingyu chuckled and looked at Zhuji without speaking. This man's thoughts were really heavy. He suddenly threw out such a sentence. It was nothing more than wanting to get information from her. "But since you think so, I won't let you have your way." "You're so sure? Did you see it?" Zhuji's original intention was indeed to get information from her, but he didn't expect that Jingyu wouldn't fall for it at all. Instead, she asked a question that made Zhuji's face twitch violently. This woman is really not simple. No wonder Pang Shiwei was looking at her face. Miss is really smart. Zhuji smiled indifferently. He knew that he was being saved and couldn't help but lower his head. He thought for a moment and said, "I did see it, and I saw it clearly." "What did you see?" Jingyu heard Zhuji's words, and her heart jumped. She frowned and asked, "I saw two people enduring it," Zhuji said faintly. At that time, the wolf pack suddenly attacked, and no one was prepared. In the chaos, of course, no one noticed the music floating in the sky. No one saw the two people standing quietly behind the pack of wolves. Even though they were so far away, I could still see them clearly. After Vijay finished speaking, his eyes were full of seriousness as he continued. "As for whether you believe it or not, it's up to you." "Of course I believe it." Jingyu slowly narrowed her eyes and said, "After such a big thing happened, young masters should rest well." "You already knew, didn't you?" Zhuji suddenly spoke up, his pair of dark eyes staring fixedly at Jingyu as he asked, "Young master, you should worry about yourself." Jingyu's tone didn't change at all. She said very calmly, "I'm afraid there will be a hard battle tonight. Whether you live or die will depend on young master's fortune. If you don't rest well, we won't have extra people to save you." Jingyu said this very calmly and turned to leave. When Zhuji heard Jingyu's words, his hands clenched tightly. He looked sideways at the water bottle that Pang Shiwei had just put aside. His body paused slightly, as if he was silent for a moment, but he still reached out to pick up the water bottle and took a big gulp of water. Jingyu's words made Zhuji know that if he didn't want Pang Shiwei's charity, he would be waiting for death. But he didn't want to die yet. Those disgusting people abandoned him and let the wolves eat him. If he didn't take revenge, how could those people live happily? Chapter 1672. As Zhuji thought about it, he clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with viciousness. When Jingyu turned her head, she saw this scene. Looking at Zhuji's appearance, the corners of her mouth curled up very calmly. If this person was used well, he would be a sharp weapon to kill people. He's so smart and so ruthless. Not bad. If it was up to Jingyu, she really admired Zhuji. "What? You like her?" As soon as Jingyu finished speaking, she heard a leisurely voice beside her. It was filled with jealousy and made Jingyu speechless. She turned to look at Xiao Chun and saw Xiao Chen's slightly downer lips. It was as if he was telling Jingyu about his unhappiness. "You?" Jingyu poked Xiao Chen's chest helplessly and said, "Why are you jealous?" "This king isn't jealous," Xiao Chan said seriously with a straight face. "I just saw the royal concubine talking to a stranger for so long, and he even called you miss?" Uff. Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen's expression and laughed out loud. This person was really interesting. He even talked about this king and called her royal concubine. Jingyu's eyes were filled with a faint smile. "What? Are you very happy?" When Xiao Chun heard Jingyu's laughter, his voice turned cold. Jingyu quickly reached out and hugged Xiao Chen's neck, saying, "Tell me, what do you want me to do so that you won't be angry?" "Do your hair properly." Xiao Chen stared coldly at Jingyu and said, "That's simple?" Jingyu nodded silently and looked at Xiao Chun as she asked, "You're not allowed to talk to other men." Xiao Chun said again, Hey. Jingyu poked Xiao Chen's chest unhappily and said, "Can you be reasonable?" Xiao Chen didn't say anything and just looked at Jingyu silently. This made Jingyu speechless. Looking at Xiao Chen's expression, did he explode with all the unhappiness from the past few days? Or could it be, actually, men also had a few days every month? I'm talking to someone. If I'm not going to ask, then you can go. Jingyu spread her hands calmly and said, "Go say something nice or beat around the bush. Go." "I'm not going." Xiao Chen turned his head away in disgust. "Look at you." Jingyu stared at Xiao Chun and said, "You're not going to say it, and you're not letting me say it. What should I do? If we don't know anything, how can we do it?" Jingyu blinked and looked at Xiao Chun. "Is it really that troublesome?" Xiao Chen thought about it carefully and asked with a conflicted expression. "Of course it is." Jingyu nodded seriously and said, "So, I'm really just doing business." Xiao Chun looked very reluctant. Jingyu hugged Xiao Chun and talked for a long time before Xiao Chun reluctantly agreed. Jingyu deeply felt tired of coaxing people and silently tied up her hair. Because Jingyu really didn't learn how to tie up hair in ancient times, the hair she tied up was really not good. Shangwan Linglan couldn't stand it anymore and volunteered to help Jingyu do a very simple hairstyle. Chapter 1673. Jingyu looked at her coiled hair and asked Shangwan Linglan in surprise, "I really couldn't tell that you had such an ability. All in all, you're still too stupid," Shangwan Linglan said proudly. "You're so proud." Jingyu looked at Shangwan Linglan indifferently and said, "Who asked me to be born with a good life? You stinky girl. I helped you coil your hair out of kindness, and you still say that I have a life of a maid. See if I don't cut off your hair." Shangwan Linglan said, and pounced on Jingyu with bared fangs and brandished claws. Jingyu screamed and hurriedly dodged. Amidst the merriment, the sky had completely darkened. The bonfire was lit, and everyone sat around the bonfire, chatting as they watched the sky darken bit by bit. Their eyes were tinged with a faint tinge of worry. They escaped a calamity last night, but it seemed like they wouldn't be able to escape today. They just didn't know what would happen next. The night deepened little by little, and the chatter and laughter became much softer. Only the sound of the dry wood burning in the fire continued. Jingyu leaned slightly on Xiao Chun and closed her eyes. Everything seemed so peaceful, but all the peace was broken the moment Jingyu opened her eyes. Jingyu's originally closed eyes suddenly opened. Her pair of golden-green eyes shone with a demonic light under the veil. Jingyu suddenly stood up and faced the night wind, feeling a desolate killing intent. "The wolf is coming." Zhuji slowly stood up and gripped the bayonet tightly in his hand. His pair of sinister eyes stared into the distance. In the dark night, footsteps sounded and everyone stood up. "Light the fire." The expression on Jingyu's face was incomparably silent. With a clear shout, everyone lit up the torches in their hands. The moment the torches lit up, the entire sky was instantly illuminated. At the same time, everyone could see the surrounding scenery. Under the illumination of the torches, what was revealed was an incomparably clear pack of wolves. Under the illumination of the fire, the pack of wolves approached step by step. There were so many of them that this scene made everyone's eyes fill with astonishment. "Hiss!" Even Zhuiji sucked in a breath of cold air and said in horror, "All the wolves are here, right? Oh, what's coming is coming." After the initial shock, Jingyu appeared to have calmed down a lot. She slowly curled the corners of her lips and saw that the approaching pack of wolves had also stopped in their tracks. The two groups of people were eyeing each other covetously. It was as if they were waiting for the other party to attack. Jingyu had been listening attentively to the movements outside. Finally, after hearing what seemed like an incomparably melodious flute sound from the sky, Jingyu didn't even have the chance to identify where the flute sound was coming from. She saw that the wolves that were ready to attack suddenly charged forward ferociously. It's indeed the people from the Sound Attack aristocratic family. Jingyu's expression suddenly changed. The bayonet in her hand stabbed out fiercely. With a torch in one hand and a bayonet in the other, she charged directly into the pack of wolves. "Kill them for me." Jingyu's aura was so fierce that it didn't seem like she would retreat at all. When Zhuiji and Pang Shiwei saw Jingyu's group charging towards the pack of wolves, they raised their bayonets and sliced open the stomachs of the wolves that were pouncing over. Chapter 1674. Suddenly, the fear in everyone's hearts seemed to vanish in an instant. Their fighting spirit was aroused in an instant. The bayonets in their hands were unceremoniously slashed over. It was incomparably ferocious, and the momentum was so terrifying. Who said that they had to run when they saw a pack of wolves? It was not impossible to fight them head-on. At this moment, everyone had the same thought in their minds. Zhuji's eyes lit up. This method of killing was not weak at all. The brandishing of the bayonet and the torches that frightened the wolves made them retreat step by step. Xiao Chun. Jingyu called out to Xiao Chun, and Xiao Chun instantly understood what Jingyu meant. He suddenly turned around and faced Jingyu back to back. The wolves surrounded everyone, and this was the only way to ensure that they would not be seriously injured. When everyone saw Jingyu and Xiao Chen's actions, Shangwan Linglan and Xing Yi followed suit. Suddenly, everyone faced back to back and killed the hungry wolves. Under the attack of Jingyu and the others, the desert wolves seemed to sense danger and instantly wanted to retreat. However, when these wolves retreated slightly, a very melodious music suddenly sounded in the sky. How could Jingyu not be familiar with this music? The moment she heard this music, Jingyu's body suddenly stiffened. She swallowed slightly and tried her best to ignore this music. Are you okay? Xiao Chun knew that this music was a disaster for Jingyu. So when he heard this music, he immediately looked at Jingyu nervously. His brows were slightly furrowed, and his eyes were filled with deep worry. I'm fine. Jingyu slowly shook her head and said, "This music is not directed at me." And, as Jingyu spoke, she listened carefully. She seemed to have sensed another meaning in the music. She curled her lips mockingly and continued, "This music doesn't have any control over me. It seems that the person who played this music is not familiar with it." When Xiao Chen heard Jingyu's words, he was slightly puzzled. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, he frowned slightly and said, "You mean nothing? Help me keep watch. I'll look for the alpha wolf." Jingyu said to Xiao Chun. She narrowed her eyes when she saw that those who originally wanted to retreat had once again rushed forward after hearing the music. In the darkness of the night, Jingyu's golden-green eyes, which were hidden under the light veil, shone with a demonic light. The originally pitch-black night did not seem to be stressful for Jingyu. She stared at the wolves and began to search bit by bit. Probably because the wolves were controlled by the music, the command team seemed to be a little scattered. Jingyu searched twice with all her might, but she still could not find the alpha wolf. She frowned slightly. As time passed, everyone's physical strength could not hold on any longer. However, these wolves became even more ferocious. Zhuji fiercely touched the blood on his face. He could not understand why there were so many wolves. It was more than 3 times the number of wolves they encountered yesterday. Zhuji's face was full of seriousness. He already had thoughts of retreating, but when he turned his head, he saw that Jingyu's people were still happily killing and had no intention of retreating. Just as Zhuji turned his head, a wolf suddenly bit him from behind. Chapter 1675. Damn beast! Before Zhuji could do anything, Pang Shiwei had already rushed over. He viciously stabbed the desert wolf's stomach with a knife, and the desert wolf fell to the ground. "What are you waiting for? Kill!" Pang Shiwei roared and started killing again. Zhuji was slightly taken aback as he looked at Pang Shiwei's back. At this moment, he suddenly felt his heart tremble violently. Back then, those people had wanted to abandon him, but now his enemy had disregarded everything and saved him. How ironic was this? Zhuji viciously chopped a wolf that had pounced on him to death. His eyes were filled with a vicious glint. "If someone respects me, I will return the favor tenfold." Zhuji's heart was very clear about who deserved to die and who he should protect. Jingyu did not notice what was happening here. Finally, on Jingyu's 4th laborious search, she finally saw the alpha wolf crawling among the pack of wolves. Immediately, Jingyu's eyes were tinged with a faint light. "Linglan, Xingyi," Jingyu called out in a clear voice. Immediately, the people on both sides responded, and all of them moved closer to Jingyu. They protected Jingyu and rushed towards the pack of wolves as if they did not care about their lives. Pang Shiwei, He Xiong, and the others saw Jing Yu's actions and immediately broke out in a cold sweat. They had no idea what to do now. They did not know why Jing Yu was courting death. Their bodies trembled violently, and they took a deep breath. They continued to stand on the spot and fend off the pack of wolves. In the time that they had known each other, Jing Yu had never done anything wrong. Now that Jing Yu was doing this, she must have had her own reasons. Everyone thought so. On the other side, Jing Yu quietly approached the alpha wolf, pretending that she did not notice it at all. As she dealt with the wolves, she pretended that she had been bitten the moment a wolf pounced on her. He threw his body out fiercely. The body that was thrown out was supposed to stop, but now it did not stop at all. It directly rushed towards the wolf. The wolf had always thought that it had hidden very well. However, it did not expect that in this instant, Jing Yu's body would leap over so quickly. In an instant, the bayonet in her hand ruthlessly pierced the alpha wolf's skull. Her technique was clean and efficient, and her strength was merciless. The wolf's body didn't even move as it fell straight to the ground. The moment the wolf fell, Jing Yu mercilessly pulled out the bayonet and chopped off the wolf's head. The sand wolves that were attacking suddenly looked as if they had seen something terrifying, and their bodies suddenly bent down. Just as Jing Yu raised the wolf's head, she suddenly heard the sound of a musical instrument. This musical instrument was so clear that Jing Yu suddenly turned around and threw the bayonet in her hand without thinking. The bayonet hit the sand, but did not stop the bayonet from flying out. The bayonet directly pierced through the sand and ruthlessly pierced the shoulder of a person behind the sand. Second brother. The petite woman only felt a strong, murderous aura coming towards her. Before she even realized what was going on, she suddenly saw that the man beside her was injured. Chapter 1676. The music stopped abruptly. Let's go. After the man let out a muffled groan, he reached out and pulled out the bayonet on his shoulder. Without thinking, he pulled the little girl and ran away. Without the protection of the alpha wolf and the control of the music, after a few struggles, the desert wolves turned around and ran away. The desert wolves ran extremely fast and disappeared in an instant. After Xiao Chun killed the last desert wolf, he raised the torch in his hand and looked at the figure slowly walking out of the darkness. The veil on her head was stained red with blood. She was dressed in black and held a wolf's head in her hand. Under everyone's gaze, Jing Yu coldly threw the wolf's head on the ground. After a dull thud, she said calmly, "We won." At this moment, the surroundings were deathly silent. Everyone's eyes fell upon Jing Yu, and then they looked at the wolf's head that Jing Yu had chopped off. Someone cried out in surprise, and then he laughed loudly. More and more people started laughing as well. "Ha, this is too fucking awesome. We won. We actually defeated the pack of wolves. Quick, pinch me and see if I'm dreaming. It hurts. Ha. This is real." There were cheers all around. No one expected that they would be able to defeat the pack of wolves. Originally, everyone was prepared to run to their deaths. But now no one took a step back. They even moved forward, probably because of the girl's cry of kill. There was only forward, no retreat. Everyone's eyes were filled with joy. Their laughter was so pure that Jing Yu also slowly breathed a sigh of relief. She killed all these people without exposing her other pupils. Jing Yu slowly breathed a sigh of relief. "Follow me," Jing Yu said to Xiao Chun and Shangwan Lingwan. Everyone looked at each other and followed behind Jing Yu. They held the torches in their hands and walked towards the hill not far away. Then they circled behind the sand and saw the two pairs of footprints that were originally standing there. The bloodstained bayonet was also thrown on the fool's head. Jing Yu's eyes were filled with a dignified look. Looking at the size of the footprint, she frowned. "Madam Xiao, what happened?" Pang Shiwei, He Xiong, He Ji, and the rest saw Jing Yu's actions and walked over. "When I was killing the wolf head just now, I discovered that someone was playing music to control the wolves, so I threw out the bayonet in my hand. As expected, it hurt someone, but unfortunately, that person ran away." As Jing Yu spoke, She pointed at the blood-stained bayonet that was thrown to the side. What? Pang Shui and the rest instantly widened their eyes in horror and said, "Someone is controlling the pack of wolves." No wonder I thought I heard the sound of a flute just now. I thought I was hallucinating. Yes, I heard it too. As soon as Pang Shui's words fell, half of the people immediately said that they heard it. The majority of the people were confused. Clearly, it was because of the pack of wolves or some other reason that they didn't hear it. Good heavens! Who is so powerful that they can actually control the pack of wolves? He Xiong's eyes widened in shock as he asked. If one or two people said that they heard the sound of a flute, they would probably say that they were hallucinating. Chapter 1677. But now that so many people said they heard it, there must be a problem. Everyone frowned. Speaking of manipulating wolves, I have heard from the older generation that there was such a sect in the desert back then. Zhuang Ji said slowly. The people of this sect learned sound attacks and beast-controlling arts. At that time, they were very popular and no one dared to provoke them. They were sought after by all the major forces and the imperial court. They became the supreme overlord in a short period of time. But as the saying goes, the higher you are, the harder you fall. Zhuiji continued. Not long after, the people of this sound attack family met with a natural disaster. It was said that the entire sect was destroyed. SSS, there was such a thing. When He Xiong heard Zhuiji's words, he widened his eyes and said in shock, "That's right, these people are the so-called people of the sound attack family." Jingyu smiled faintly and said, "The people who came out this time seem to be two children. Looking at the footprints, one of them is a girl. It seems that Mrs. Xiao isn't surprised at all." Zhuiji narrowed his eyes and looked at Jingyu. "Of course I'm not surprised." Jingyu casually bent down and picked up the bayonet. She looked at the crowd indifferently and said, "The reason I came to the desert is for the sound attack aristocratic family. I said that I don't want anything. The reason is simple. I want to save my friend, who is also his wife, from the hands of these people from the sound attack family." Jingyu turned her eyes slightly to look at White Nine. When everyone heard Jingyu's words, they were slightly stunned. Only Pang Shui and He Xiong weren't surprised because Jingyu said that she wanted to save someone. She just didn't say who she wanted to save and where she was going to save them. But now they knew that she wanted to save someone from the hands of the sound attack family. I've known for a long time that the sound attack aristocratic family on this continent hasn't disappeared, but I didn't know where they were hiding. Not long ago, I finally found out that the sound attack aristocratic family was hiding in Sand City in the desert. Originally, we were prepared to come early in the morning, but we didn't expect that when White Nine's health improved, there would be news of the treasure. I thought that it would disturb me, but I didn't expect that it would help me a lot. Jingyu spoke very calmly, as if she just wanted to tell everyone what had happened. That's my goal. We won't be able to cross this area by ourselves. We're just taking what we need. Jingyu looked at everyone quietly and said, "You guys go find your treasures, and I'll go save my people. That's all." "Madam Xiao, that's not right." Pang Shui stood up and said, "You've helped us so much along the way. If it weren't for your advice, we would have been killed by those big forces. Moreover, if it weren't for Madam Xiao, we would have lost our lives when facing the wolf pack. These people from the musical attack aristocratic family have gone too far. We must go and seek justice." Pang Shui said in a powerful and resonant voice. "Yes, just because they can tame beasts, they want to send us all into the mouth of the wolves. We must go and explain it clearly." As soon as Pang Shui said this, everyone began to shout arrogantly. After one person said this, everyone began to say the same thing. Chapter 1678. They actually kidnapped people. This is truly unforgivable. Voices of condemnation sounded. Jingyu had expected this, but it was also unexpected to Jingyu. Right now, the most important thing is to find the Sand City. Jingyu didn't take much action in response to the cries of the crowd. As for what to do after finding the Sand City, let's wait until we get there first, Jingyu said calmly. Everyone nodded in agreement. After a tiring night, they finally worked until dawn. Although they killed a lot of wolves, there were also casualties on their side. After that, it was Chingu and Ku Air's job. The two of them were busy helping everyone bandage their wounds. Jingyu also suffered minor injuries. Her arm was scratched by a wolf's claw. Xiaochen couldn't help but frown when he saw this. He then helped Jingyu bandage her wound. By the time the corpses and the injured were cleaned up, the sky was completely bright. Just as Jingyu was still bandaging her wound, she suddenly saw Zhuo Ji walking over. She frowned slightly and put down her bandaged sleeve. She frowned slightly at Zhuo Ji's approach. Seeing Zhuo Ji like this, Jingyu knew that Zhuo Ji must know something. "Young Master Zhuo, what's the matter?" Jingyu calmly asked Zhuo Ji to sit down. "What's your purpose?" Zhuo Ji didn't waste any time and went straight to the point. He looked at Jingyu and Xiaochen and asked, "Didn't we make our purpose very clear?" Jingyu chuckled and said, "I said a while ago that we came to save people. Does young Master Zhuo think that I'm lying? Let's not beat around the bush." Zhuo Ji chuckled and said, "Pang Shiwei and the others don't know who you are, but I do. The famous 9 emperors and the Empress of Strange Pupils are among us. If you don't come up with a convincing excuse, I really can't believe you." Even if Zhuo Ji knew Jingyu and Xiaochen's identity, he didn't seem to be afraid at all. He even dared to speak in such a tone. This really made Jingyu very surprised. "I'm telling the truth." Jingyu smiled faintly and said, "From the beginning, we didn't want to hide it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have said our real names." Jingyu's words fell, but Zhuo Ji still silently looked at Jingyu and Xiaochen. "All right," Jingyu said helplessly. "We don't mean any harm. We are indeed here to save people. Since young Master Zhuo knows who we are, then you must be familiar with what we've done, right?" Jingyu said as if she was telling a story. "Back then, I was chased out of the Tokyo because of my strange pupils. I fled all the way to Jinling's Roman forest. The battle there made Yi Shui and I become close friends. The Holy Family and the Poison Sect pressured us step by step. In the end, they even invited people from Miaojiang and the Sound Attack family, catching us off guard." Jingyu slowly clenched her fists and said, "The people from a Sound Attack aristocratic family took Yi Shui away. Because Yi Shui was a person who was lost in the outside world, Yi Shui was taken away. I have been searching for her in the Sound Attack aristocratic family until I found her here." Chapter 1679. Jingyu looked at Zhuo Ji quietly and said, "You know that sound attacks can control beasts. You also know that abnormal pupils can control beasts. So, I will tell you clearly that only one of us can survive. Either the Sound Attack family is destroyed, or I, Jingyu, die. So, not only do I want to save Yi Shui, I also want the Sound Attack to disappear completely. If the Sound Attack doesn't disappear, then it will be the biggest threat to me." Jingyu's words smashed heavily into Zhuo Ji's heart. Immediately, all the things he didn't understand became clear. "So, you're hiding to avoid the Sound Attack family's search?" Zhuo Ji asked with a slight frown. "That's right." Jingyu nodded slowly and said, "I want to save Yi Shui, but I don't know what the Sound Attack family will do to Yi Shui. If I act rashly, I'm afraid it will ruin everything. So, I'm using your cover to search for Sand City." "I understand." Zhuo Ji nodded slowly. He stared at Jingyu and said, "It really is a case of each taking what they need. Can you be at ease now?" Jingyu spread her hands helplessly and said, "I thought you hated Pang Shiwei to the core. I didn't expect you to care so much. I just don't want to be stabbed in the back." Zhuo Ji stood up and looked at Jingyu. "Especially when it comes to you guys, I have to be careful. But since things are out in the open, things are simple. I know you guys want to fish in troubled waters." There was a sinister smile in Zhuo Ji's eyes as he said, "Don't worry. If you help this group of people like this, if it really comes to a critical moment, these people will definitely not stand by and watch. Wasn't this your plan from the beginning? Young Master Zhuo is really smart." Jingyu sighed and said, "Pang Shiwei has a brother like you. It seems like he can live for a few more years." "Who is his brother?" Zhuo Ji said with disdain. Then, he walked away with a cold expression. It wasn't clear if he was angry at Jingyu for saying that Pang Shiwei was too stupid to live for long, or if he was angry at himself for saying that he was Pang Shiwei's brother. It should be the former. Jingyu smiled as she thought of this. She turned to look at Xiao Chun and asked, "Did I say too much? If you don't say anything, I'm afraid that this person will keep an eye on you for the rest of the journey." Xiao Chun withdrew his gaze from Zhuji and replied calmly, "That's right." When Jingyu heard Xiao Chun's words, she happily raised her eyebrows and asked, "I said so much because I needed to. I definitely didn't want to talk to him. You're not angry, are you?" "Since when have I ever been angry?" Xiao Chun asked in a serious tone. When Jingyu heard Xiao Chun's words, her expression suddenly froze. Looking at Xiao Chun's serious expression, she almost laughed out loud. Who was the one who was so jealous during the day? After one night, he refused to admit it. When this man was unreasonable, a woman would definitely feel ashamed of her inferiority. Jingyu smiled and looked at Xiao Chun with a wronged expression. She said, "You didn't protect me well. Look, I'm injured. It hurts." Xiao Chun looked at Jingyu's raised hand and frowned. He said, "No matter how painful it is, you deserve it. Who told you to charge forward without a care for your life?" Xiao Chun said as he stared at Jingyu with disdain. Chapter 1680. You scolded me. Jingyu felt even more wronged. I was wrong. When Xiao Chun heard Jingyu's wronged words, his heart softened. He reached out and hugged Jingyu as he apologized profusely. Jingyu, who was wearing a veil, smiled when she was comforted by Xiao Chun. She buried her head in Xiao Chun's chest and heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao Chun said calmly, "Don't hide and laugh. I saw everything." Jingyu lifted her head from Xiao Chun's chest and said, "I'm wearing a veil. See, you are indeed laughing." Xiao Chun looked at Jingyu, who was pointing at her veil, and his eyes were full of smiles as he spoke. "Xiao Chun." Jingyu immediately realized that she had been tricked. She glared at Xiao Chun angrily. Just as she was about to explode, she heard Pang Shiwei and the others calling for them to set off. Xiao Chun jumped away and called for everyone to set off. Jingyu looked at Xiao Chun angrily and turned to leave. However, she had only taken 2 steps when Xiao Chun hugged her tightly, and they played happily for a while. Then, they continued to drive forward. Jingyu played with the bayonet in her hand and thought of the 2 footprints she saw. One of the footprints clearly belonged to a woman, but the 2 of them were not adults. She just didn't expect that the people from the Sound Attack family would send 2 children. What was the meaning of this? Jingyu thought about it for a long time, but still couldn't understand. Now that she had injured one of them, she didn't know what kind of damage this family would cause. But thinking about it, she hadn't revealed that she had other pupils. Even if this person from the aristocratic family of Sound Attack were to bring word back, he would probably be a very powerful person. As long as she didn't have other pupils, Jingyu is absolutely confident that this person from the aristocratic family of Sound Attack wouldn't be ruthless. That meant that she still had time. When Jingyu thought of this, she immediately became happy, and the corners of her mouth curved into a faint smile. They hadn't rested for a long time. Finally, they walked out of the place where the wolves gathered. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. When the sun set, everyone stopped to rest and watched the afterglow of the sun disappear bit by bit. Everyone started a bonfire again. Someone took out a large piece of wolf meat and roasted it over the fire. There was no more wine, so they had to save some water. Everyone ate the wolf meat to their heart's content. This was the fruit of victory. Everyone ate to their heart's content while telling delightful jokes. Jingyu looked at these people's carefree expressions and said, "Let's end this quickly. We have to find Little Potato and take him to see the scenery of this continent." "Okay." Xiao Chun nodded silently. He could clearly hear the deep longing in Jingyu's voice. Jingyu looked at the dusky sky and seemed to think of something. She frowned slightly and said, "Xiao Bai and the others are behind us. I don't know where they are now." Jingyu looked at Shangguan Linglan as she said this. "According to the distance, Xiao Bai should be about to reach the place where we collect the resin." Shangguan Linglan estimated for a moment and said slowly, "Okay." Jingyu nodded and said, "If that's the case, we'll be able to make it in time." If the Sound Attack aristocratic family has any special methods, we'll be able to hold on when Big Brother and Xiao Bai's army arrives. Chapter 1681. Yes. Xiao Chen nodded slowly. For the next 2 days, Jingyu, Xiao Chun, and the others continued to move forward. On this day, when they climbed up a sand dune, their eyes widened and they exclaimed in surprise. What's wrong? Jingyu, Xiao Chun, and the others were following behind the group. When they suddenly saw the group stop and everyone gasped, they were shocked and quickly went forward. Jingyu thought that something big had happened. However, when Jingyu stood on the sand dune and saw the scenery in front of her, she gasped in surprise. Under the gaze of Jingyu and the others, the scenery below was panoramic. The green trees and flowers, as well as the clear water source, made everyone gasp in surprise. This was the legendary oasis in the desert. Could it be a mirage? After Jingyu was pleasantly surprised, she suddenly seemed to have thought of something. She suddenly said this sentence, which immediately made the surprised people reveal a look of surprise in their eyes. Looking at the oasis not far away, they suddenly felt that it was possible. It was said that the oasis in the desert was very difficult to find. How could they find it so easily? It was most likely fake. Everyone, don't be anxious. Just keep moving forward at normal speed. According to the distance we can see, if it is really an oasis, we can reach it in less than half a day. If it is fake, you won't be able to reach it even if you run. Jingyu's calm words immediately extinguished the excitement of the crowd. What Jingyu said was right. If people in the desert really encountered a mirage, they would be excited and run forward with all their might. However, when they used up all their water and physical strength, they would realize that the mirage was still very far away from them. In the end, they would run out of water and energy. Their fate was clear, and that was to die in the desert. Therefore, Jingyu's words woke everyone up. After the initial excitement, everyone followed Jingyu's words and walked steadily towards the oasis. No one drank large mouthfuls of water. Instead, they kept the water in their mouths and walked step by step towards the depths of the desert. As Jingyu and the others approached, they could clearly see the oasis getting closer and closer. Everyone had been suppressing the impulse in their hearts. Finally, when they were only 100 steps away, they felt that the wind from the oasis was different. Suddenly, everyone rushed in as if they had gone crazy. Their eyes were filled with joy. Jingyu also didn't expect that they would actually encounter the oasis in the desert. It really made everyone feel as if they had survived a disaster and reached heaven. Obviously, Jingyu was feeling like that now. God, I can't take it anymore. I want to take a bath. Jingyu looked at the clear water and said, "Let everyone fill this water bottle first." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows calmly. He turned around and asked everyone to fill the water bottle. Then, he asked Pang Shiwei to let the girls bathe first. After that, everyone should bathe as well. Everyone applauded. Naturally, no one refused. This oasis looked very small from afar. However, when they came closer, they realized that it was very big. Jingyu, Shangguan Linglan, and Ke were all present in this oasis. Chapter 1682. After receiving permission, all of them excitedly jumped into the water to take a bath. After walking in the desert for so many days, they even had to be careful with the water they drank. Now that they could take a comfortable bath, the 3 women were about to fall asleep inside. The men who were chased out were all waiting anxiously. Done. Finally, Shangguan Linglan and Jingyu came out and changed into clean clothes. The 3 of them sat under the shade of a tree outside. The sound of men's laughter could be heard from inside. It made them feel that it would be great if they could stay in this oasis forever. Thinking of this, the 3 of them sighed deeply. By the time the sun went down, everyone had changed into a new set of clothes. Their faces were glowing with radiance. They rested in this oasis for the night. Naturally, no one had any objections. How could they have any objections when such a good thing was happening? Perhaps it was because of the oasis, but Jingyu felt that the night sky was especially beautiful. Xiao Chun held Jingyu's hand and walked around the periphery of the oasis. The two of them talked softly and laughed from time to time. Looking at the hazy night sky was very gentle. I haven't seen your face in a long time. Let me see. Xiaochen looked around and saw that there was no one around. He held Jingyu's hand and said. When Jingyu heard Xiaochen's words, she found it funny. She arched her eyebrows and looked at Xiaochen and said, You've looked at me for so many years. Aren't you tired of looking at me? Of course I'm not tired of looking at you. No matter how much I look at you, it's not enough. Xiaochen said. He reached out and gently lifted Jingyu's veil, revealing Jingyu's beautiful face. Her pair of golden-green eyes shone brightly in the dark night. Xiaochen stared at Jingyu closely. It was as if he wanted to engrave Jingyu into his heart bit by bit. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. At this moment, even his breathing was gentle. Have you seen enough? Jingyu's eyes were full of smiles. She blinked and stared at Xiaochen as she asked joyfully. Not enough. Xiaochen leaned over and planted a gentle kiss between Jingyu's eyebrows. He said, I can't get enough of seeing you in this lifetime. Uff. Jingyu listened to Xiaochen's sweet talk and smiled happily. Where did you learn this from? The words you say now are so touching. It's probably because she didn't know where her feelings came from, but she kept going, Xiaochen said as he looked deeply at Jingyu. His words were very affectionate. It made Jingyu's heart tremble in an instant. Looking at Xiaochen's back facing the moonlight and his body full of love, Jingyu's expression changed instantly. She raised her hand and wrapped it around Xiaochen's neck. Then, she kissed Xiaochen's slightly cold lips. Xiaochen reached out and hugged Jingyu back. He deepened the kiss with incomparable passion. Under the moonlight in the dark night, the two of them hugged each other. It was as if no matter what happened, they would never be separated. Their hearts were so close that they could hear each other's breathing clearly. They could also feel each other's deep love for each other. Xiaochen, I'm so happy, Jingyu said with a chuckle as she lifted her head from Xiaochen's embrace. Uh-huh, Xiaochen responded. He seemed to want to say that he was also very happy. However, the moment he saw Jingyu open her eyes, he was stunned. Chapter 1683. What's wrong? Jingyu saw Xiaochen's stunned expression and was also stunned. She looked at Xiaochen with some confusion and asked. Xiaochen didn't answer Jingyu's question. Instead, he stared intently at Jingyu's eyes. Xiaochen saw Jingyu's golden-green eyes. The moment Jingyu opened her eyes, her golden-green eyes flickered. Then, the golden-green eyes turned pitch black. Xiaochen's heart trembled violently. He seemed to have thought of something. He frowned and didn't say anything. What's wrong? Jingyu saw Xiaochen staring at her silently. She suddenly felt strange and reached out to touch her face. She asked in confusion, Is there something on my face? Nothing. Xiaochen looked at Jingyu's pitch-black eyes. They had lost their radiance. Xiaochen was thinking about what to say to Jingyu when Jingyu suddenly frowned. Then, Xiaochen saw Jingyu's pitch-black eyes slowly turn golden-green. The golden-green light was so bright that it was as if what Xiaochen saw just now was a momentary anomaly. Xiaochen worriedly reached out to touch the corner of Jingyu's eyes. Jingyu grabbed Xiaochen's hand and asked, What's wrong? My eyes? Are they beautiful? Jingyu blinked and looked at Xiaochen as she asked. Yes, they're beautiful. Xiaochen slightly raised his eyebrows and stared at Jingyu. When he saw that Jingyu's eyes didn't continue to change, he slowly let out a sigh of relief. However, he was a little confused. Why did Jingyu's eyes suddenly change? On the way back, Xiaochen seemed to have something on his mind. When Jingyu talked to Xiaochen, she could clearly feel that Xiaochen was casually responding. Jingyu frowned slightly. Seeing that Xiaochen didn't seem to want to talk about it, she remained silent for a while and didn't ask. She just quietly followed Xiaochen and walked back to where everyone was. Xiaochen slightly looked at Jingyu. Jingyu had already covered her eyes with her gauze hat. Originally, Xiaochen wanted to tell Jingyu, but he thought that Jingyu could also hide the color in her eyes. This time, it was probably the same. Thinking like this, Xiaochen didn't take this matter to heart. In addition, they were already in a crowded place. It wasn't good to talk about this matter. Thus, he delayed it. The stars filled the sky. Everyone was sleeping peacefully here. However, a different scene appeared in the sand city in the desert. What's going on? A slightly shrill voice sounded. The woman dressed in luxurious clothes was the second aunt. At this moment, she was sitting by the bed. Her eyes were filled with shock. The person lying on the bed was a handsome man. The dark red bloodstain on his shoulder was very eye-catching. This person was the man from the sound attack family who was injured by Jingyu. Hunger, what's going on? Wenjue, you tell me. The second aunt turned her head sternly and looked at the little girl kneeling on the ground. Her eyes were filled with anger. Second aunt, please forgive me. Wenjue kowtowed in panic and said, it doesn't know what's going on. Those people are too powerful. They injured second brother in the blink of an eye. It doesn't know how. Chapter 1684. Slap. The crisp sound of a slap rang out. Before Wenjue could finish her sentence, the woman gave her a vicious slap and scolded her viciously. Trash. I asked you to protect the second young master, and this is how you protect him. Aunt, please forgive me. Wenjue was slapped so hard that she did not dare to say a word. She trembled as she knelt on the ground. Cough, cough, cough. At this moment, the man on the bed slowly opened his eyes. Hunger, how are you? The woman heard the commotion and quickly turned her head. She looked at the man with a pained expression and asked, Where do you feel uncomfortable? Tell me. I'm fine. The man shook his head weakly and said, Mother, please don't punish Sister Jure. We were careless this time. Mother, please call a few uncles over to discuss how to deal with this matter. Tell Mother, how did you get injured? The woman's eyes were filled with coldness as she asked, Mother knows your character. You must have hidden it well. You even had a pack of wolves under your control. How could you be injured by those people? As the woman spoke, her eyes were fixed on the man lying on the bed. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in her eyes, causing the pale man's face to turn even paler when he saw the dissatisfaction in his mother's eyes. Mother, I'm useless. The man's hand on the bed clenched slightly, and he slowly said, Those people were not afraid of the wolves at all. I don't know what happened either. What did you say? The woman's face turned ugly when she heard the man's words. She glared at the man and asked, Those people were not afraid of the wolves. What did you see? I didn't see anything. The man lowered his eyes slightly to hide the look in his eyes and said, It's just that when I was controlling the wolves, I suddenly realized that some of the wolves were not under my control. The woman's face changed when she heard the man's words. She seemed to have thought of something. She turned to Wenjue and said, Did you feel the same? Are some of the wolves out of control at the back? Yes, but Wenjue thought for a moment and nodded. It was true that after the man killed the alpha wolf, he lost control for a moment. Wenjue agreed and was about to explain when she saw the cold gaze of the man lying on the bed. When Wenjue saw the man's cold gaze, her body trembled. The words that she wanted to say were stuck in her throat, and she couldn't utter a single word. The wolf pack went out of control. He wasn't afraid of the wolf pack, and he even injured my child. The woman frowned as if she had caught some information from his words. Her eyes widened in shock as she said, I understand. Mother, what's wrong? The man seemed to be very aggrieved as he said, I'm useless. I couldn't share your burden. No. The woman took a deep breath and lovingly caressed the man's face. Mother is already very satisfied that you can do this. If you didn't come back in time, I'm afraid you would have died outside. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.